Welcome to the On Center, everyone. If you have everything you need, if you're able to take your seats, we'll get started in just a moment. Please take your seats. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. Yeah, I got plenty of volume. Although I think we need plenty of volume because I see lots of people with bags under their eyes, kind of like mine, from some late nights last night. Not just the people down here, but talking to the folks in the back of the room, too. Yeah, they had some late nights, so maybe a little loud voice to wake everybody up is good. So, obviously, we normally do this meeting over at the legislature, but given the situation, we really thought it'd be better to do it over here where we could spread out and have as many people here as possible who need to be here. So appreciate everyone's accommodation. Also appreciate the support of the legislature several months ago when we pushed the budget process back to now. Whether it's good or bad, we have a lot more information now than we would have back if we'd started in September. So again, appreciate that. Who could have predicted last year when we approved the 2020 budget, and then even in February when we had the county executive's State of the County address, that we'd be where we are now, where words like unprecedented and catastrophic, pandemic, all these words that we never really talked about much before are commonplace. And so, it's been quite a run so far. I think we've got quite a ways to go, but I'm looking forward to, a very, very productive budget process. And appreciate in advance everyone's participation and dedication. I had a friend of mine sum it up great when last weekend when we were putting the clocks back an hour. He said, boy, usually every fall I look forward to setting the clocks back to get an extra hour of sleep. But this year all I can think about is the fact that setting the clocks back actually makes 2020 1 hour longer. And so I thought that really kind of summed up the year in a nutshell. So anyway, without further delay, again, thank you everyone for your attendance. And I'd like to bring out the county executive to present his budget to us. And then on Friday, we will get at it in earnest with the Ways and Means Committee and take it from there. So, Ryan?
Chairman. Good morning. We can do better than that, folks. Good morning. I know certainly everybody was up late last night. We could do this the easy way if we want. I'll present this. You can take a vote, and we're done with this. But certainly, just a couple comments before we get going. I know people are stressed, and we've been going through a lot outside of elections, but we're going to be okay. Okay? So no matter what happens, we're going to be okay. We got business to do, and we'll move forward. And I don't know whose idea it was to, when you gave us the authority to move back the budget, to actually put this the day after Election Day, but that was probably not the best decision either. So I was up late last night, just like all of you were, but we got to get to business. So good morning, everybody, again. Chairman Knapp, Leaders May and Irvin, members of the legislature, and guests. Thank you for being here. 2020 has undoubtedly been a challenging year. Our community has been tested in many ways, mentally, physically, and economically. But we banded together to starve COVID-19, safely reopen our economy, send our kids back to school, and ensured that the most vulnerable in our community continued to receive the services they needed, now more than ever. And despite all of these challenges of 2020, I'm proud to stand before you today to present a balanced budget for 2021. Not only is our 2021 budget balanced, it makes strategic investments that ensures our county continues its economic recovery and dedicates additional resources to continue our fight against COVID-19. Before I lay out the 2021 budget, I think it's important to remember where the year started and how far we've come. 2020 started with palpable momentum built off the undeniable progress we experienced together in 2019. We ended 2019 with a $7 million surplus and a general fund balance of $77 million. That's $10.8 million over the 10% goal set forth by this county legislature. The momentum and progress continued when in January, New York State committed the necessary funds for the first ever county-wide STEAM school, located at the former Central Tech High School. This legislature also recognized the importance of this project to our community. Even in the midst of the pandemic, you all authorized the bonding to pay for the renovation. I want to thank the legislature for your partnership in this effort. Thank you. This project is now more important than ever, as it will put hundreds of our neighbors to work, helping our overall economic recovery. It will also reignite the economic momentum in the southern end of downtown. On February 10th, we gathered together at OCC for the 2020 State of the County Address. We were able to share some of our many successes from 2019, and we laid out a bold, aggressive, and inclusive vision for our community. It was at this presentation that we reminded the community we are all in this together, a mantra that soon the entire country and the world would come to appreciate. Not only was our economy growing, so was our zoo. On February 13th, we welcomed 2 black Welsh mountain lambs at the zoo. These are actually Brian May's favorite animals. It was February 26th that we announced the first of 6 winners in our Village Main Street program, the Village of Baldwinsville, a nearly $500,000 public-private investment into streetscapes and 7 properties located within the village. On March 1st, Deputy County Executive Ann Rooney and I had the opportunity to join our colleagues from across the country at the National Association of Counties Conference in Washington, D.C., where we were asked to share our story on the amazing success we have had with our early childhood investments. An accomplishment, by the way, that continues to pay dividends today. On March 5th, we announced the next round of winners for the Village Main Street program, the villages of Manlius, Minoa, and Fayetteville. A total of $650,000 would be invested in these 3 villages to improve facades, streetscapes, walkability, and much more. On March 7th, I joined Mayor Walsh and Comptroller Masterpole, along with thousands in our community, to kick off the 15th annual Shamrock Run. And it was on March 9th that I joined Peter Coleman and his son Dennis on Bridge Street to discuss the upcoming St. Baldrick's fundraiser. It was in March that work began on the construction of the Amazon warehouse in the town of Clay, one of the largest in the world. This $450 million investment is providing an incredible stimulus to our local trades and economy. That spring, JMA Wireless broke ground on their 5G campus at the old coin factory, showcasing a multi-million-dollar investment and a multi-million-dollar commitment to our south side, a neighborhood that has been underinvested in for far too long. Our momentum was also reflected in our sales tax receipts. In the first quarter of 2020, our sales tax receipts were up 4.7% year over year. While we were driving our PIE agenda, behind the scenes, the health and emergency management departments had been diligently working for months to prepare our community for any impacts related to COVID-19. When it became clear that COVID-19 would not be contained to a single neighborhood, community, county, or region in New York State, we started executing that very plan that our team had spent months preparing. That meant making difficult decisions that I never imagined I would have to. On March 12th, we made the difficult but necessary decision to postpone the 2020 St. Patrick's Day Parade. This would be the first of many events postponed to stop the spread and save lives. With the Emergency Operations Center already activated, I declared a state of emergency in Onondaga County on March 14th, and we canceled all extracurricular activities in our schools immediately. 2 days later, on the 16th, we closed schools throughout the county. We were officially at war with this virus in Onondaga County at this point. Our primary goal from the onset was to preserve our medical infrastructure while keeping the community safe. As schools closed, we knew child care was going to be a major issue, especially for our frontline workers. At my direction, our team in the Department of Social Services quickly reached out to our reliable partners at Child Care Solutions, and they developed a plan. Almost immediately, Onondaga County started providing free child care to all essential workers, regardless of income. In total, we assisted over 200 children of essential workers. This gave our frontline workers peace of mind, knowing that they had reliable child care, and our community peace of mind, knowing our frontline heroes could come to work and help us defeat this virus. I'm proud to tell you that we were one of only 2 counties in New York State that provided this service. We also waived the family share towards child care, which can equal hundreds of dollars per child per month. This ultimately helped over 3,600 children every month in the pandemic. Another critical part of preserving our medical infrastructure was to ensure our hospitals did not become overwhelmed. So on March 14th, in partnership with Upstate Medical University, the COVID-19 triage hotline was established for members of our community to call ahead to determine if they should be tested. To date, they have fielded nearly 25,000 calls. This simple step played a major role in preventing our hospitals from being overrun and preserving our medical infrastructure. I want to thank Upstate Medical for their unwavering partnership during the pandemic. There's no doubt that our community was able to fight this virus as well, if not better, than any other region because of this partnership and a shared commitment to Central New York. Unfortunately, on March 16th, we had our first confirmed case of COVID-19. Sadly, just 8 days later, we lost our first neighbor to the virus. We knew the disease could be deadly, and it did not spare our community. As of today, our community has lost 212 neighbors. These are families who in many cases have still not been able to properly mourn their loved ones. I ask that we take a moment of silence to remember those we've lost and their families. During these unprecedented times, our obligation to our seniors and most vulnerable in our community became even more important. We began to see amazing leadership emerge from our county workforce. Maria Mahar and Isabel Harris, for example, they organized and executed 275,000 takeout or home-delivered meals to seniors, caregivers, essential workers, and health workers. 10,000 masks were distributed to senior community programs or agencies. 8,000 gallons of milk were distributed during a giveaway at Destiny USA. Over 3,000 senior nutrition hotline calls were answered and ultimately connected to nutrition programs. 1,500 boxes of groceries and essential cleaning supplies were provided to families in the community. 1,000 grocery boxes were provided by the health department to quarantine cases as well as Vera House clients. Dozens of gallons of sanitizer were distributed out to nutrition agencies, and this was all done on top of their normal work responsibilities. I want to take a minute to thank, from the bottom of my heart, all of our employees and community volunteers who stepped up to make sure that these efforts were successful. We proved once again that there's no challenge or obstacle that our community cannot overcome. Thank you for all your work. While our team in adult and long-term care was ensuring our seniors and other vulnerable populations were taken care of, our teams in the health department and emergency management were making sure our community, especially our frontline workers, had access to the resources they needed to stay safe while protecting our community. Our team in emergency management, under the leadership of Commissioner Dan Weirs and Director of Emergency Management Services, Jeff Van Beveren, essentially lived in our emergency operations center. Jeff got married during the pandemic. You guys didn't believe that Jeff didn't even invite me to his wedding. Where is he? Is he here? Jeff? Oh, all right. They worked with our hospitals, doctors' offices, schools, assisted care facilities, and so many others to ensure that they had PPE, test kits, ventilators, or whatever else they needed. And they got it to them quickly. Thanks to emergency management, over 1 million pieces of PPE, 1 million, were distributed to over 750 unique organizations. It was our health and emergency management teams that worked at the Syracuse Community Health Center to set up a drive-through testing site. They developed mobile testing that we deployed throughout the county. They set up a back-to-school testing for faculty and staff. And then when schools opened, they quickly pivoted to offer symptomatic testing for students in K through 12. Emergency management even developed a plan to open a field hospital at Manley Fieldhouse, a plan, thankfully, that we never needed to execute. We also knew that many of our COVID-19 frontline healthcare workers would be nervous about going back home to their loved ones after working their shifts. So our teams quickly mobilized a plan to provide hotel rooms. In total, we provided 429 nights for our local heroes. I also want to thank Syracuse University, who was an important partner in this effort as well. Onondaga County is forever grateful to our entire emergency management team for their countless hours and commitment to the safety and security of our community during this global health pandemic. Thank you. Our entire community can be proud of the work their county government has done to beat back COVID-19, reopen our economy, send our kids back to school, and work towards an inclusive economic recovery. And while our colleagues in Erie and Monroe and other counties across the state received tens of millions of dollars in aid for their fight, Onondaga County did all of this with zero direct aid from the federal government. This is a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of our county workforce. While the human toll on our community has been tragic, we also knew that COVID-19 would have a devastating impact to our local economy. With businesses shuttered and people asked to stay home to stop the spread, the reality is that we knew our 2020 budget was going to be dramatically altered in a way that our county has never dealt with, ever. The second quarter of this year, our sales tax plummeted over 20% year over year. Our economic growth didn't just slow down, it was the largest contraction on record for our county. But before any of these harsh fiscal realities hit us, CFO Steve Morgan and his team quickly found ways to stem the losses while minimizing the disruptions to our workforce. On March 18th, we implemented an immediate hiring freeze in the first of 3 rounds of austerity. That didn't make Steve very popular, by the way. The additional rounds of austerity measures were implemented on April 2nd and May 19th. On April 7th, with the unanimous support from this county legislature, we offered a voluntary retirement incentive. 163 members of our workforce took advantage of this offer. These actions were tough but critical to ensuring that our community could continue to receive the services they had come to rely on more than ever, while trying to keep as much of our workforce whole as possible. Finally, after the tremendous response from our community, including staying home, getting tested, wearing masks, and more, we were able to enter phase 1 of our reopening on May 15th. The reopening of our economy would prove to be yet another test for the community. Conventional wisdom would have suggested that our infection rate would go up as we began to interact again. Instead, we proved the opposite. Our infection rate continued to drop, the community continued to get tested, and we were able to enter the additional phases of reopening. On May 29th, we entered phase 2, phase 3 on June 12th, and phase 4 on June 26th. Recognizing that the success of our local businesses was critical to our overall recovery, the OSIDA board agreed to allocate up to $500,000 for individual grants for small businesses and nonprofits to assist them with expenses related to COVID-19 and all the new health and safety requirements. An additional $200,000 was offered in bridge loans, and $250,000 has now been offered for restaurants for infrastructure to extend outdoor dining to make up for lost capacity inside their establishments. This was also approved. As we entered the fall, it became clear that more would need to be done to shore up our budget. So on September 9th, we decided to reopen the retirement incentive in an effort to further reduce overhead and minimize layoffs. Another 37 employees chose to take advantage of the offer, bringing the total number of retirees to 200. On September 18th, we established both a voluntary and involuntary furlough program. 23 employees were approved for the voluntary program, while another 19 employees were placed on involuntary furlough. Unfortunately, we were still in a fiscal position where we needed to lay off 7 employees. In total, we are down over 500 positions in this budget compared to the 2019 budget. And we now have fewer than 2,900 people working for Onondaga County. As a result of all these decisions, we were able to save nearly $34 million in 2020. As our community has adapted to living in the new normal, we have seen some encouraging news on the economic front. In the third quarter, we saw a 2% growth year over year. While this was certainly welcome news, as it's helped prevent further draconian cuts, our 2020 sales tax collections to date are still down over $22 million, or 8%. And all of this has laid the groundwork for my proposed 2021 executive budget. It's a budget that reflects the realities of our new normal. While it is undoubtedly challenging on many levels, it is our hope that this new normal is ultimately a temporary one. As I mentioned previously, my 2021 budget is balanced, and our workforce will be challenged like no time in our county's history to meet the challenge of the 100-year pandemic. This budget, all funds, is $1.25 billion. Jim Rowley's going to get this number, which is $84 million less than the 2020 adopted budget. $84 million, folks. That marks a 6.3% decrease. The proposed 2021 budget also continues to incorporate austerity measures and hiring freezes in 2020 to address these unprecedented times. Each executive department was also given a predetermined dollar amount that they were asked to use when planning their own budgets. I want to thank all of my department heads who work closely with the team in management and budget to live within these numbers for 2021. Thank you. I know how hard it's going to be. This is not going to be easy. It will require patience, innovation, and ingenuity on the part of all of us. But it is our hope and belief that we will be able to continue providing the quality of services our community has come to expect. It is also our ultimate goal to quickly but responsibly shore up our departments with the necessary resources as funding permits. When I was first elected to the legislature with many of you in 2011, our property tax rate was $5.82 per thousand. I'm proposing to lower the tax rate to $4.99 per thousand. This will be a historic low. Our property tax rate is down 14% since 2012. Job well done, folks. While looking at how the 2020 fiscal year will end, we are anticipating a negative 7% growth in sales tax, a dramatic change from a budget that had anticipated a 3% growth in sales tax. While our economy is undoubtedly rebounding, there is still volatility and uncertainty that we must account for. That is why we are only budgeting a 4% growth in sales tax in 2021 off the baseline of the negative 7% decline in 2020. In dollars, that means we are still projecting a $22 million reduction in sales tax compared to what we had budgeted for in 2020. We are also required to set aside $3.1 million in sales tax for the Distressed Hospital Fund, a new mandate on local counties by New York State. Our budget also takes into account an anticipated $20 million cut in aid from New York State. The cost shifts and unfunded mandates from the state of New York are all over this budget. And quite frankly, they are ultimately a cost shift, not to us, but the local taxpayer. This budget also calls for keeping the sewer unit charge flat at $452 per unit. We are able to do this while continuing our aggressive sewer consolidation effort. This past year, our team at WEP successfully executed 4 long-term lease agreements that you approved in the Meadowbrook Limestone service area. These agreements cleared the way for WEP to kick off our $9 million investment to mitigate inflow and infiltration into our sewer system. Phase 2 of this consolidation efforts is going to kick off next year with the Seneca Knolls service area. Our team at WEP also played a critical role in their efforts to identify COVID-19 in our wastewater systems. We were one of the first in the state to undertake this effort, and it's now being used throughout the county in a micro-targeted fashion as we continue to try to hunt the virus. The budget's not all about austerity and cuts. I'm also proposing an allocation of $6.8 million for pandemic response and recovery to COVID-19. We've proven we can fight the virus in real time when we have the resources to test and trace. We need to make sure we have the money to buy supplies and equipment necessary to keep our community safe. This budget also invests in our PIE strategy, with continued funding for the Early Childhood Alliance, increased funding for our Higher Ground Workday program, and increased funding for daycare. Excuse me. I'm also excited to share with you that the 2021 budget calls for the proposed consolidation of information technologies with the City of Syracuse and the County of Onondaga. This consolidation, long overdue in the eyes of many, will create efficiencies. It's going to strengthen our cybersecurity network while saving both the city and county money. Presented to you is a capital plan that continues to maintain our existing infrastructure and invest in new infrastructure that is driving economic development and jobs. Lastly, I'm proud to point out that despite all of the fiscal challenges that Onondaga County has faced in 2020, S&P, Moody's, and Fitch all reaffirmed our credit ratings. They did this in the middle of the pandemic. There's no better third-party validation than these rating agencies on our fiscal health. Before I leave you this morning, I want to take some time and highlight just some of the work that has continued to get done by our workforce despite the many challenges and obstacles they have faced in the middle of the pandemic. Working with our health department, our team at Emergency Communications, led by Commissioner Julie Korn, protected nearly 100 police, fire, and emergency medical service agencies by keeping a secure list of COVID-19 positive or quarantined addresses, so that when our first responders, they had the situational awareness when they would answer the call that they needed before entering a scene so that they could make sure that they were safe. Our Department of Transportation under the leadership of Commissioner Voss, paved nearly 100 miles of county roads, replaced several bridges, completed major infrastructure projects on West Taft Road and Old Route 57. They replaced over 3,000 feet of storm drainage pipe and completed several capital projects at the Marcellus, North Area, and Jamesville maintenance facilities. At Parks, under the direction of Deputy Commissioner Brian Kelly, but you're going to make him the commissioner soon, we received awards from New York State Recreation and Park Society, as well as the Central New York Recreation and Park Society. And we recently unveiled a completed, renovated, and expanded chapel at our Veterans Memorial Cemetery. Our parks team has also improved several ski and hiking trails at Highland Forest and Chairman Knapp's favorite, Pratt's Falls. This year, the Office of the Environment was able to secure the last privately owned piece of property on Onondaga Lake for the bargain price of $1. Not only did this ensure the lake and its shore would be accessible to everyone for generations to come, it allowed us to continue the extension of the world-famous and very popular Loop the Lake Trail. Right, Legislator Bush? Where are you, Legislator Bush? And this summer, we did just that. We added over another mile to our trail system on the west side of Onondaga Lake. And we also were able to offer a preview of the brand new bridge being built across the CSX railroad tracks and into the former Ross Steel site. These efforts are now breathing new life into a once blighted eyesore for our community. Our friends at the zoo remain as busy as ever. We were the first zoo in New York State to open up safely and responsibly with an online reservation system. We broke ground on a new animal health center slated for completion in 2021. And of course, we have welcomed several new animals to the Onondaga County family. All very cute. Well, we were not able to enjoy baseball in person this year. Facilities Commissioner Archie Wixon and his team were busy working on the $25 million renovation of NBT Bank Stadium. There are now new lights, new grass on the field, new paint. The seats have been replaced, and construction is ongoing at the Hank Sauer Room. All of these new amenities we hope to enjoy soon in a safe and responsible way. Purchasing Director Dan Hammer and his team were also hard at work this past year. In addition to procuring masks, gloves, gowns, ventilators, and other critical PPE, they were also working to continue to find ways to save our county, our schools, our villages and towns money through cooperative purchasing. In fact, his team was able to save the taxpayers nearly $2.5 million in salt costs. And when you compare that to the state contract, it was over a $7.5 million savings. These are just a few examples of the fortitude demonstrated by our amazing workforce. We still made sure our roads got paved, our parks were maintained, and we didn't kick the can down the road on simple maintenance projects. And it goes without saying that there has been no other department that has done more to protect this community during this global health pandemic while still carrying out their many other public health responsibilities than Dr. Gupta and her team in the health department. Dr. Gupta has been on so many magazine covers, it's unbelievable. She's famous. Dr. Gupta and her team have been a steady hand, and they've been a reassuring voice, not only for me personally, but for all of Onondaga County. She and her team are true warriors for the public health, and Onondaga County is lucky to have her and her team looking out for us each and every day. I want to thank the entire health department team. Please know this, that the sacrifice you all have made has served as an inspiration to many. Even young Officer Andrew McMahon. As you can see, young Officer Andrew McMahon now wants to be Dr. Gupta when he grows up. I've said it before and I will say it again, our county workforce is the best of the best. I want to thank all of them in every department for their unwavering commitment to providing high quality services to the citizens of Onondaga County. To my partners here today on the legislature, this will be the most unusual budget you will ever have to vote on. No county budget in its history has been $80 million less than the previous year. No budget and no government in our history has faced such uncertainty with revenue on top of multi-million-dollar state budget cuts. While the services we provide today to our constituents mean more than they ever have before. You are tasked with being good fiscal stewards while giving my administration the necessary resources to fight this virus and lead our community in economic recovery. And make no mistake about it, we're going to recover, and we're going to be stronger in 2021. This takes leadership, and what an opportunity we all have in front of us. We can show Washington, D.C., Albany, all of our trolls and naysayers that we can work together. We can put aside politics, and we can fight this pandemic together. We recognize the moment, the challenge in front of us, like so many in our community have already done. Our nurses, our doctors, daycare providers, grocery store workers, teachers, and our very own county workforce. As a legislative body, it's your turn to meet the moment, confront the challenges, and make the tough decisions of the 100-year pandemic. I wish you all well, and I want to thank you all for your continued partnership. God bless all of you, and get to work. Thank you.